Okay, welcome back to class students. We are on our third topic in this course. I'm Dr. Odiji Babalola, lecturer in charge, and the topic before us now today is dimensions of communication. The last two classes we looked at the introduction, um, and also we looked at business communication. And in the last class, we looked at communication process, elements of communication process, and effective communication. So I hope that you went through the after class assignments, the take-home projects. I cannot overemphasize the need for us to go through the take-home projects and do every necessary things that we are required to do. All this help us to consolidate uh, the knowledge that we're trying to build through this course. Don't forget, in this course, we acquire the requisite knowledge, skills, and abilities to be able to be effective in communicating in business or corporate environment. So never you let go of that. And that should be enough motivation for you to want to learn, to want to do all the take-home assignments. Because the better your skills, your communication skills, the higher your chances of success in the corporate world. In fact, some of the things you are learning in class, you're able to immediately utilize them in business environment, in corporate environments, or to sell those skills to people and organizations who will be ready to pay for it, who are in need of such skills, maybe to communicate within the organization to their customers. So I don't want you to see this class as purely theoretical, and that all you need to do is to load yourself with theoretical and then wait for you to pass the exam. I'm saying that you can immediately begin to apply some of these skills right away, or sell them. You have them needed. So I want to look at dimensions of communication. Dimensions of communication in this topic. Dimension of communications. It is the directions, different direction that communication can go. So communication is multi-directional and multi-dimensional. By that, we mean that there are multiple directions communication can flow within an organization, and also that communication has multiple various dimensions. So communication dimension is also referred to as flow of communication, where communication direction shows the direction, talks about the direction in which communication goes. Now, when we talk about the flow of communication, it can go downward from superiors to juniors, upward from subordinate to superiors. It can be horizontal or lateral. It can be diagonal. And we also have what we call grapevine communication. I spoke briefly about grapevine communication in our first class. So let's look at these different directions, one after the other. Downward communication. What do we mean by downward communication? This is the communication that flows from a superior to a subordinate. For someone at a higher level in an organization, to another in a lower level. That is what we mean by downward communication. What this is communication from superiors to subordinates in a chain of command. Yes. So you can see from the diagram, a production manager is superior to assistant production manager. An assistant production manager is superior to production supervisor, and the supervisor is superior to the worker. So downward communication flow is used by managers to transmit work-related information to the staff at lower levels. So a production manager is give instruction, downward communication, downward instruction to his assistant. The assistant will give downward information to the production supervisor, who is a subordinate to him, and down like that. So when managers, when superiors transmit work-related information to the people below them, what is happening is referred to as downward communication. And look at this picture. At the top level, we have only one person, maybe the CEO, who communicates to the middle and low-level management, staff, who then communicates directly to the work employee or to the staff. So when the communication is from the superior to subordinate, it is referred to as downward communication. Downward communication is used to assign goals, to provide job instructions, to provide policies, to give feedback about performance, and so on. So when a superior tells the subordinate, I need you to do better, or you are doing fantastic, or you are doing beyond my expectation, when it gives feedback to the subordinate, that is downward communication. When the superior tells the subordinate about the new policies or the old policies, about the policies of the organization as it relates to health, as it relates to promotion, as it relates to performance, that is downward communication. And when they give job instruction, this is how I want you to do this, this is what I want you to do, that is also downward communication. The success of downward communication depends on the communication skills, on the skills of the superior. Also, it depends on the popularity of the superiors with the subordinates. If it's a very popular manager, if it's a very popular superior, the subordinates will legally take the instructions, legally, absorb what is being communicated to them. But downward communication is a top to bottom approach to organizational communication. In other words, in organizational communication, downward communication is a top to bottom approach to communication. So, as you can see, these are the purposes of downward communication: to give job instructions, to provide a complete understanding of the employee's job and organizational objectives, to communicate the organization's mission and vision to the staff, to the employees of the organization. So we use downward communication to achieve all these purposes. 2, upward communication. Don't forget you are talking about communication direction in an organization. So the second direction is categorized as upward communication. And this is a type of communication that moves or that flows from the subordinates to the superior and continues up and up and up. This communication from the subordinate in form of request, appeal reports, suggestions, or to communicate ideas to the superior. When this happens, it is a flow of communication upward. It is a bottom-to-top approach to communication. So, upward communication is non-directive. Is non-directive in the sense that it's not giving orders to the superior. It's not directing the superior or giving them instructions to do one thing or the other, but is usually found in a participative and democratic organizational environment. In other words, when subordinates talk to their superiors, is a way for them to participate in organizational governance, and is a way democratic participation. Is a way to demonstrate democratic participation by those staff, because a subordinate cannot direct or give instructions, give directives to the superior. So, communicating from bottom to top usually goes in form of appeal, suggestions, sharing of innovation or ideas to the superior. So you see the diagram, the arrows go up from worker to the production supervisor, from production supervisor to assistant production manager, and from that to production manager. Unlike the previous diagram, where the red arrow points down, you see, in downward communication. In upward communication, the red arrow points up from bottom to the top. Okay, so when we are involved, or when we have a situation of upward communication, we're talking about a process of communication where information flows from down to upward, and it's used to encourage employees to participate actively in the operations of their departments. And when people are given that opportunity, they are inspired and their sense of ownership, of responsibility increases when they can see that their superiors are listening or provide avenue to listen to problems affecting their jobs, to listen to their suggestions, listen to their suggestions. So that is upward communication. Horizontal or lateral communication is the exchange of information among people on the same level in the organization. We have the same level, or we have the same authority. For instance, heads of departments, directors, and so on. People on the same level. People on the same level within an organization. When they communicate among themselves, it's like peers are communicating. It's like like peers are communicating. So they use such communication to facilitate coordination of activities that are interdependent. That is, coordination of activities that involve more than one department, that involves more activities that involve more than one unit. So heads of units are more or less equal. So when they are involved in projects that bring them together, and these equal level people with the same authority but in different departments are communicating. What is happening is referred to as horizontal or lateral communication within within the context of business communication. For instance, when a production manager communicates the production plan to the sales manager, both of them are managers. One is heading the production, one is heading sales. But they have about the same authority, but their job is interdependent. Maybe the salesperson, the sales manager, or the sales department have some feedback from the customers, maybe about the packaging of the product or about some features of the product that they want the production department to take into consideration in their next production. So in this scenario, sales manager will speak to the production manager. When they do that, what we have is horizontal communication or lateral communication. So when communication is not made between people who are neither in the same department nor at the same level of organizational hierarchy, it is called diagonal communication. In other words, diagonal communication is communication that is between people who are not in the same department or at the same level of organizational hierarchy. That is, when a salesperson communicates to a production manager, or when a staff on the production line or production worker, when it communicates with the sales manager on official matters. I'm not talking of unofficial informal communication here. That kind of communication is called diagonal communication. That's called diagonal communication. So when communication takes place at the same level of hierarchy in an organization, we call it horizontal or lateral communication. That is communication between peers, between managers at some level, or between any horizontally equivalent organizational members. So this diagram shows an example of horizontal communication. You see, where we have purchase manager, production manager, quality control manager, and sales manager. When purchase and production managers communicate, that is horizontal. When production manager and quality control manager communicate, that is horizontal. When quality control manager and sales manager communicate, that is horizontal communication. And when sales and production manager communicate, it's still horizontal. When purchase manager and quality control manager communicate, it is still horizontal, because all the four managers are on the same level of the organization. They have the same authority. So here are some of the advantages of horizontal communication. It saves time. 2, it facilitates coordination of tasks. It facilitates cooperation among team members and among heads. 4, it provides emotional and social assistance to the organizational members because they are able to talk directly to themselves. Like the scenario I painted, sales managers' feedback will help production. And when production also produce in line of the insights that the salespeople bring from the market, it will help salespeople to sell better. And everybody feels good about it. It helps in solving various organizational problems. In the scenario we are using, it will generate profits for the for the organization. Maybe the organization has been suffering from low revenue, poor revenue, and they are even trying to lay people off. But salespeople bring insight from the market, communicated it to the production and quality control. We generate greater revenue. That is solving the problem of before running the company, the organization. Also helps in solving various organizational problems, is a means of information sharing, and it can also be used for resolving conflicts within of a department with other departments or conflict within a department. So let's go back to diagonal communication, which is the fourth type of communication dimension or direction. So when communication flow is between a manager and employees of other work groups, that is diagonal communication. Like I said the other time, when a production worker communicates with the quality control manager, that is diagonal. It is coming from another department, not from the head of the department, not from the head of another department, from a staff, from the lowest level and lowest cadre staff, which is at the bottom, to the top staff, the manager of another unit. The line of communication is diagonal. This generally does not appear in organizational charts. To design a training model, a training manager interacts with an operations personnel to inquire about the way they perform their tasks. For example, if a training manager wants to design or when you want to organize training for personnel in a unit, the training manager will need to talk to this lower cadre staff to know the challenges they are facing in order to come up with a training that will address those challenges and will help them to perform their job better. So from the diagram, we can see examples of various types of diagonal communication. You see from the left, when the vice president marketing talks with manager finance, because manager finance is not on the same authority level with vice president marketing. It is an example of diagonal communication. So there you have other examples of diagonal communication between vice president operation and manager sales. All these are forms of diagonal communication. But we also have examples of lateral communication between the 4 vice presidents and between the 4 managers. Those are lateral communication. So the advantages of diagonal communication is no line of command. It leads to or enhances interdepartmental communication. It is fast and free information sharing. It has less information distortion. The demerit is leakage of vital and confidential information. It can result into information overload, and it doesn't work in competitiveness. In other words, if sales department is competing with quality control department, let's say, it will be difficult to have a diagonal communication between the head of quality control and a staff of sales department. If departments want to keep to themselves and so on. So it won't work in a unhealthy competitive environment, in an unhealthy competitive environment. And also information that should be kept confidential, maybe in a unit or at a level, maybe divulged to quarters where they are not supposed to get to. So merit because there's no line of command. It's not like kind of a too official thing, like from subordinate to superior, in the sense that the head of sales is not the direct boss of the guy in production. So on like that. The fifth type of communication dimension is grapevine communication. This refers to informal channel of business communication. Why do we call it grapevine? Because it stretches throughout the organization in all directions, irrespective of the authority levels. For instance, a vice president may have a bosom friend, maybe a childhood friend, who is a factory worker, and we give information. Also, factory worker can divulge information to the superiors, either to gain favor, and not, I mean, their superiors across the organization, whether they are on the same level, whether it is diagonal, lateral, or top, bottom to top. You see, is free flow of information. That is grapevine communication. It's free flow of information in all directions, from all sources, from all directions. Because, and this is happening because human beings, we are social animals. We like to interact. So, grapevine communication will discountenance the formal channels of communication in an organization, and it strengthens the informal channels. When people interact, maybe on sporting fields, at the cafeteria, or even while riding bus home, while going in the same vehicle to work or coming from work, we share information about their organization. We talk freely because human beings are social animals. They like to interact with other people. And this grapevine information exists more at lower levels of organization. And why does it happen? It happens when sometimes when organization is facing difficult time, when employees are uncertain of the future, when they are uncertain of the future, and it's like they're not sure whether they're going to continue with the job. Maybe there is threat of recession, of loss, and there's threat of cuts in wages or in employment. So the caution that people have had before, they throw caution away little by little, and I mean, everybody just say whatever to whoever within the organization. Oh, and also when people are displeased, when, for instance, managers show preferential treatment and seem to favor some staff at the expense of the others, or seem to create a kind of marginalization within the camp, within the staff. So the victim, the staff that feel victimized or that feel disadvantaged may, out of spite, out of frustration, divulge information they are not supposed to divulge to other staff, in other departments, within their own department. They begin to trade information in order to create camps so that they also can receive information from other people, information about their personal affairs like promotion, who is being promoted, who is not, why, this and that. Grapevine communication thrives most in organizations that are experiencing this. In organizational culture, here are some of these things we have discussed, like preferential treatment, unfair treatment to staff, when employees feel uncertain of the future, when the organization is being threatened with economic downturn, and so on and so forth. We're not saying that grapevine, especially healthy grapevine, should I say healthy? Let me just say grapevine communication. We're not saying that it does not occur in healthy organizations. It does, but such communication, they are far healthier than in the organization you have described. So when you have people say, I heard from the grapevine, they don't want to disclose their source, and they know that it is not a formal channel. Mainly, it's not a formal channel, so you are not officially notified. You might have gotten the information from somebody who saw a document and decide to divulge confidential information. So that's why when we say, oh, I heard from the grapevine, we know that one, they are not officially or formally notified. Two, probably they are not even authorized to have such information, and they are willing to disclose their source or confirm their source. So that is grapevine communication. So you see this picture, we have single strand where the informal communication goes from one individual to another, then to another, to another, to another. That is single strand. We have gossip, where an individual is the main source and shares the information to many people, gossip. And then we have probability, when individual shares it, and then people shares it to, then shares it with other people, and so on and so forth. And we have foster too, where the film originates from a single individual then to another individual, then from this other individual just keep going. These are different patterns in grapevine informal communication. Okay, inward communication, these are information received by the organization from external agencies. When information comes from external agencies such as governments, other organizations, suppliers, customers, competitors, media, or shareholders, in the form of letters, emails, offers, complaints, suggestions, requests, or notice. All these are inward flowing communication. Inward flowing communication. We call it inward communication. Now, on the other hand, we have outward communication, and this happens when an organization transmits information to another organization. It can be between a business and another person in the exterior of the company, and such as dealers, customers, government officials or authorities, and so on. So when communication originates from an organization to an external source, we call it outward communication. Outward communication. Okay. What are the things to consider when we want to choose communication dimension? What factors are we to consider in choosing communication dimension, in choosing the direction, the dimension of our communication? There are 7 C's and 4 S. These are acronyms, 7 C's and 4 S, that helps the sender in transmitting its message with ease and accuracy to determine which is the most appropriate, which dimension, which communication dimension is the most appropriate for me. So the first is credibility. Second, courtesy. Third, clarity. Fourth, correctness. 5. Consistency. 6. Concreteness. 7. Conciseness. Conciseness. The 4 S of business communication are shortness. 2. Simplicity. 3. Strength. And 4. Sincerity. Sincerity. So we have credibility, the 7 C's, and 4 S, 7 C's of business communication. Credibility. Will the message, will the communication build trust? Will it build trust between the sender and the receiver? Courtesy. Will it improve our relationship? Does it improve our relationship? We'll have heard people say courtesy demands that we do this or we do that, meaning that if you have done that, it will have improved our relationship, or we should have done that for the sake of our relationship. So courtesy. Clarity. Does it make understanding easier? Understanding of the culture, of the business, of the subject matter. Is it clear? It has to be message you have to want to send. We have to clear enough. Correctness. Correctness. Does it build confidence? Is it correct? So that people have confidence in it. Consistency. Does it introduce stability? Does it introduce stability? Does it show stability? Does it show we are consistent? Concreteness. Does it reinforce confidence? Correctness is about building confidence. Concreteness is about reinforcing confidence. Conciseness. Is it precise? Does it save time? Does it save time? So when your communication observe these 7 C's, it means communication, the message must be credible, it must be courteous, there must be clarity in what you're trying to pass, there must be correctness. It is correct, they have confidence in you and in the message, must be consistent, must show a pattern of stability, of regularity, must be concrete, and it must be concise. It must save time. Now let's go over the 4 S. Shortness. We say brevity is the soul of business. You need to economize. You have to be as brief as possible. You have to be as brief as the subject matter allows. It has to be simple. Simplicity. Simplicity. Then it must be strong, it must be convincing, and it must be sincere. It must be appealing. It must be appealing. So if you judge whatever communication wants to do in business environment with these 7 C's and 4 S, these 11 factors, it will improve the ease and accuracy of your business communication. Okay. We'll be looking at basic communication skills. This is to strengthen our introductory aspects. I mentioned it in the passing. It was mentioned in the passing here, and I said that later on we'll be looking at this. So I'm just going to run down what this is about. Basic communication skills. We recall that earlier in the first class we said there are basic types of communication skills. We have verbal, non-verbal, interpersonal, formal, informal, group communication, written communication, technological communication. We only mentioned these in the passing, so we want to look at them briefly now. um, basic communication skills. We have verbal communications, non-verbal, listening skills, public speaking, negotiation and persuasion skills, feedback, and so on. So, verbal communication skills refers to the art of expressing thoughts clearly and persuasively through spoken words. So if somebody has verbal communication skills, it means they can express their thoughts clearly and with persuasion through spoken words. Now, there are certain aspects of verbal communication that must be mastered. Tone of your voice, the pitch, it is the volume, the pace. Do you speak hurriedly or do you pace your words? All these are crucial for effective communication in various settings, in meetings, in presentations, in negotiation. The tone of the voice. There is a tone of the voice that communicates confidence, that communicates mastery, and there's a tone that communicates anxiety, fear, uncertainty. Generally, when you choose your words, when you pace your words, it shows a mastery of verbal communication compared to when you rush too much, when you are too hasty to talk. Generally speaking, it doesn't help. Doesn't help, except when you need to quickly say something to save your life. In some situations. Okay, the pitch of your voice may communicate confidence, it may communicate anger, it may communicate aggression. The pitch is too high. There's a pitch that communicates, I'm in charge. I know what I'm saying. I'm confident of what I'm saying. You see? So when people master this part, this aspect of communication, they become excellent in verbal communication skills. And a skilled communicator can adapt their verbal expression to suit the context, ensuring that messages are not only comprehensible, are not only understandable, but also impactful. And this will foster engagement and understanding among diverse audiences. So, we're not talking of you speaking in a monotonous voice. I have a dream, my dream is this. I keep using that in every context. That may look so monotonous, that may look pretentious, it may look artificial, but you are a skilled communicator as far as verbal communication skills is concerned. If you know how to combine your tone, your pitch, your pace for different contexts, to ensure that your message impacts on your audience and it produces the effect that you envisage, that you aim at. But not every communication is verbal. Not every communication is. In fact, experts say that the non-verbal has or shares a larger percentage than the verbal. And part of what I've said under the verbal, like the pitch, the pace, they're part of the non-verbal thing in a sense. I hope we'll be able to discuss that. In other words, your voice, uh, the tone of it, the pitch of it, and the pace of it are very important. Not just the mere words you say. Words. Okay, so let's go to other types of communication skills, non-verbal communication skills. Yes, beyond words, non-verbal cues play a significant role in communication. In other words, things like body language, facial expressions, gestures, they contribute to the overall message. It is not the words you speak that is the most important. Experts say the words themselves, they take about 7%, whereas the non-verbal cues, body language, the way you sit, the tone, the pitch of your voice, the tone, your facial expressions, your gestures, all these are important. They contribute significantly to how your message is accepted. So when you realize the importance of nonverbal signals, it will make you a better communicator in both personal and professional context. Listening skills is part of communication skills, because if you are not listening well, you will not be able to give appropriate feedback. People say God gave us one mouth and two ears because He wants us to listen more than we talk. I don't know whether that is to listen, but it makes sense. It makes sense. Our mouth can speak at a faster rate, at a slower rate than our ears can hear. In other words, our hearing has a higher capacity to hear than the capacity of the mouth to talk. Generally, we say we speak about 300 words per minute, so to say, but our ears have the capacity to listen to about 700 words per minute. So the implication of that is that if you are not actively listening, the discrepancy between the rate at which you want to hear and the rate at which mouth can speak, our minds will begin to roam about, to fill in the gap. So that is where the concept of active listening comes in. Active listening. To be a good communicator in the 21st century, you must learn to listen. Not listening with the mind that I just want him to finish so that I will fire back. Oh, once he finishes, I will talk back. No. But listening to really get the message of the sender, of the speaker. Listen and watch. The listening here is, listening in this context goes beyond just hearing the words, but looking at the other cues, looking at the verbal and non-verbal aspects of the communication. So when we listen actively, we are better able to engage and understand the speaker's message. I encourage you to research active listening. Research it. If this were to be a purely communication class, there would have been a whole module on active listening. And let's see if we are able to still do that. We arrange maybe for class, maybe for a virtual class, for us to talk about active listening, because it is very important. It is very important that business people working in corporate organization or corporate environment learn this skill, active listening. It came on board, it came to the front burner in recent time, when we realize that we are good in speaking, I mean, generally as humans, good in speaking, and we even organize different education support programs, trainings for speaking, public speaking, oration, this. But we don't have such for listening. So that was what part of what spurred us into having trainings on active listening. And I strongly encourage you to look it up online in the free courses also on active listening. But if time permits, we will organize a program on active listening for us. So through verbal affirmations and non-verbal cues such as nodding, maintaining eye contact, effective listeners acknowledge and validate the communicated information. The skills of active listening fosters mutual understanding and helps build strong interpersonal relationships. You see, if you want to build strong interpersonal relationships, you need to learn these skills. And I can tell you that business, whether 1,000 naira, 500 naira business, 100,000 naira business, or 100 million naira business, they thrive on interpersonal relationships. Multi-million naira contracts are awarded to people that people know. Yes, I know in some cases merit plays a significant role, but all things being equal, if merits are the same or about the same, but interpersonal relationship is stronger in one aspect, people will want to give businesses to those they have strong interpersonal relationships with. So you may really want to think about building your active listening skills in order to build strong interpersonal relationships in our relationships. Even among your classmates, you don't know the next Dangote, you don't know the next Otedola, you don't know the next Bill Gates, the next person that is going to be blessed with a trillion naira idea. Maybe he's sitting right beside you in the class. You don't know, because Dangote, Bill Gates, and so on, and Otedolas of this world, they were once classmates of some people at the primary, nursery school, secondary school, and universities, higher institutions. You can never tell. So if you have built strong relationships with them at this level you have, who knows what benefit you are going to reap from it in the future? It will not really hurt if you are the guy that many people can relate with. Many people can say, oh, that's my party, that's my guy. We have this vibe between us. So let's go to public speaking. Public speaking is about articulating your thoughts clearly and coherently in a public space, communicating your thoughts in an articulate way, that is, in a clear and coherent way to the public, to public audience. So when you are addressing the public, maybe in form of presentation, training, teaching, a good communicators choose the appropriate tone, pitch, volume for particular context of the conversation. Effective speaking ensures that messages are conveyed accurately to minimize the risk of misunderstandings and enhance overall clarity in communication. Public speaking has its nuances, its art, its principles, it has its logic, it has its strategy. All these can be learned in public speaking course, a public speaking class. I do not know whether we'll be able to have an online, a virtual training or a virtual engagement on public speaking as well. Hopefully, we may organize to have it with, organize to have experts come to interact with us, active listening and public speaking before the term runs to an end. Now, part of basic communication skills is negotiation and persuasion skills. As a business person, you must negotiate one way or the other. Even if you're going to be employed as a staff, you negotiate your salary. Somebody says we negotiate every day, whether we like it or not. So your negotiation skills will have direct relationship with the quality of your life. If you are single, you want to get married, you got to negotiate with whosoever you want to get married to. And when you get married and you have kids, you negotiate with your kids, you continually negotiate with your in-laws, with your spouse on various decisions. Negotiation is not only about money. I want to talk of you negotiate every time you bargain over okra, over periwinkle, over tomato, over watermelon with their aboki, over suya with their aboki guy, and so on. We negotiate every day. So the earlier you learn negotiation skills, the better. Hopefully, again, we'll be able to have conversations around negotiation and persuasion skills. But what do we mean by negotiation and persuasion skills? These are skills that we use skills we use to make trade-offs, make compromises with other people, with other groups. These are skills we use to win people over to our way of thinking. Skills we use to make people do what we want them to do for us, to influence them. And skills we use to tell people what we need, what we are going to do for them, so that they may also do what for us. So there are intricate skills involving the strategic use of language to influence opinions, to navigate successful negotiations and resolve conflicts in a business context. Skilled communicators employ persuasive techniques to achieve positive outcomes, whether in a deal-making or decision-making scenario. So we use negotiation skills, persuasion skills to make deals, to make decisions. Our president, Asiwaju Tinubu, when he came in, there was going to be strike by this union and that union. He called them, had meetings, sent his people to them, and a looming strike was averted. That is negotiation. That is persuasion. Negotiation is about giving and taking. It's about making offers and making concessions. So in business environments, in a business context, we do this a lot. We negotiate prices, we negotiate with workers, we influence, we try to persuade them to do things this way and not that way. So it involves crafting compelling arguments, anticipating counter-arguments, and navigating complex discussions with finesse. These skills are pivotal, they are important for fostering collaboration and agreement, and thereby contributing to effective professional relationships. In a business environment, there will always be differences, there will be There will be conflict, not violence. When I say conflict, I'm not talking necessarily about people beating other people up or throwing whatever at other people. No, I mean incompatibility, a situation of perceived incompatibility. You need communication skills, negotiation skills to resolve the perceived incompatibility, to navigate the difficult terrain of complexity leading to conflict, to incompatibility that come out of the complexity, whether the incompatibility are real or perceived. You need negotiation skills and persuasion skills to navigate to eventually resolve them. Okay, feedback is the sixth communication skills we want to talk about, and feedback is necessary. People must know how to give feedback. Feedback serves as a two-way street. It creates an environment where individuals can learn from each other and collectively contribute to a more effective and collaborative workspace. There must be an environment where feedback is encouraged. You get feedback from your subordinates. You get feedback from your customers. And you, whatever role you are playing in the business context, must also learn to give feedback to people. Businesses that will thrive or businesses that will survive, let alone thrive, must learn to build feedback mechanism into their system. Suggestion boxes, staff meetings, not briefings, staff meetings, team day out. These are places or these are mechanisms for feedback in organizations. So individuals also must be encouraged to give feedback. Sometimes people are afraid to give feedback, especially if the feedback we consider it to be not positive. Okay, feedback is a vital component of effective communication. It involves the skill of providing constructive input to others in a tactful and considerate manner. So giving feedback is not about tearing people down. It's not about attacking their ideas or their innovations. No. Giving feedback is about giving them constructive input, constructive criticism. That is what feedback in the business environment is. Equally important is the ability to be open to receiving feedback. You shouldn't be willing to give feedback alone, but you should also create an environment or an attitude that shows I welcome feedback. For instance, if every time people try to give you constructive input, you're always fighting them, or you're always giving them reasons why it should be the way it is, or trying to make them look silly, such behavior will not encourage feedback. Such behavior will not encourage feedback at all. So we should encourage feedback by receiving it well, acknowledging that they are valuable to us. They'll say something like, oh, I thank you for that. I never saw it that way. Or, although I've been seeing it that way, but I never thought it's this important. Thank you very much. People want to give you more. And when you even actively go out and ask, what do you think about this? What do you think about my presentation? What do you think about this project? What do you think about this initiative? Okay, you have come as the superior to load the subordinate in new policies or new initiative, but you go ahead and ask, how do you feel about it? You'll be shocked that from the least expected quarters, they will give you input that will significantly improve what you are giving them. Improve the policy, improve the initiative, and so on. So being receptive to feedback fosters a culture of continuous improvement and professional development. It allows individuals to refine their skills based on constructive insight. I'm not talking of antagonism here. I'm not talking of antagonism or criticism. In a sense, I mean, those negative, destructive criticism. We're talking of something constructive, something to help others improve the way they do things, improve their products, and so on. So, these are the 6 basic, we say basic communication skills, meaning that if you call yourself a communicator or you want to be a communicator, these 6 skills are very important. They are important, they are fundamental. They're like the ABCs, and they are 1, verbal communication skills, where you master the tone, your pitch, your pace of voice, your words. 2, non-verbal communication skills, where you use your body language, your facial expressions, your gestures to contribute message appropriately. 3, listening skills, active listening skills, where you use verbal and non-verbal cues, like nodding, like saying, okay, oh, did you mean, like saying those things, maintaining eye contact to show that you are interested in what is being said and you affirm those things. Then the 4th is public speaking, where you learn to speak your thoughts clearly and coherently to a public audience, to the audience. How you package your speaking, your non-verbal aspects, non-verbal aspects of communication to achieve your aim, to achieve your aim of that communication, to ensure that you minimize misunderstanding, you enhance understanding or clarity in communication. And 5, negotiation and persuasion skills. Negotiation and persuasion skills is very important. And finally, feedback. Okay, here are some take-home nuggets. 1, what are the dimensions to communication? List them. As a manager of an organization, what are the factors you must consider before choosing the appropriate channels of communication within your workspace? Discuss. And finally, your own understanding, what are the basic communication skills required of a manager? So, for further studies, there are some references, including 2 video on YouTube. So you want to, I encourage you really start with the videos to enrich what you have learned in class today. So thank you very much. Today we have looked at, in this class, we have considered communication, basic communication skills, and so on. Dimensions of communication. See, so thank you once again. I am Dr. Obidu Okamala. If you have any question, reach me through the teaching assistant, or post your question in the appropriate places, virtual email, and so on. Next time we interact in class, we can bring them up or with them during the face-to-face aspects of this class, teaching assistant. Thank you very much. Our next topic is communication barriers. I encourage you to look it up online, read around it, so that when you come to class next time, it wouldn't be all new to you. I want you to use your course syllabus to keep a tab on the next topic we'll be doing, so that you read around it before coming to class. Is a way of whetting your appetite for the new topic, and it makes for better understanding. So thank you. See you next time.